22nd day of Today at Wrestling Christmas. My name's James Truepenny. I'm doing a different one than I intended today. I'm going to do the one I intended another day. It might be one I watch later today, actually. In between long walks around Glasgow, which is lovely. This one popped up on my feed on Twitter. Glorious Lizzie Flanagan person, one of her followers, pointed out this show is now available on YouTube, and it is going back to world-class Christmas Star Wars 1982 at Reunion Arena, Dallas, Texas. And I wanted to do this for years, and it was never available on YouTube as a full show. It was kind of all bits and pieces and stuff. And this isn't the full show either. This is the highlights of it. I will include the video link in YouTube, a link which is on the WWE website, YouTube's page. And yeah, this was an interesting one because it's full of local hero wrestlers on the show, but the actual show itself is very abrupt. There's only 3 matches and they're out of order, funnily enough. But we will dive into it. The show itself, the video itself, opens with David and Kevin Von Erich saying that that they're sorry they couldn't be in the World 6-Man Tag Team Championship match, but between the 3 of them, between Kerry, Kevin, and David, they have too many titles, so they can't challenge for it, which is pretty funny, considering the amount of title shots they got in their time in World Class. Obviously, because their dad was the promoter, but that's beside the side. The show was entirely handled by Bill Mercer on commentary, and Mark Lawrence, Reverend Mark Lawrence now, on interviews and on TV commentary. And the actual show itself opened with Brian Adias versus Frank Dusek. Frank would have a bigger career as a referee, funnily enough, down the line. But this was kind of standover in match. That's not on the tape at all. Adel Madril and Jose Lothario tag teamed against Checkmate and the Magic Dragon. Checkmate was he was a pure technical wrestler. I remember watching him. Lifestyle, a women's channel in the 90s, used to show old Texas Dallas old world-class matches that they'd found the rights to, and Checkmate was the rising heel on that show, which I found really fascinating. It was very kind of early days of the Von Erich takeover of Texas. Magic Dragon, he was a kind of generic Japanese wrestler in many respects. He was from Miyazaki, Japan, and did spend most of his career in Texas. He started off originally in All Japan in 1975, and obviously through that Texas connection, that put him in the National Wrestling Alliance and places like Jim Crockett Promotions, Mid-Atlantic, World Class Championship Wrestling, and Mid-South all the way through the mid-80s before he went back to All Japan after his excursion was through. Only lived to the age of 31, sadly. Again, like anyone who's involved in World Class, it never quite goes well. Checkmate was a wrestler. He was a British wrestler, funnily enough. Tony Charles. Yeah, that was it. Tony Charles was a Welsh wrestler. The guy who invented the International, absolute technician. Sadly passed away in 2015 at the ripe old age of 79 through Alzheimer's. Al Madril, kind of journeyman Texas wrestler, been everywhere, done everything, and had a long career in World Class. Was all the territories, did All Japan. Kind of wound up his career in Pacific Northwest Wrestling. Did a bit for the NWA. He's kind of a journeyman wrestler in very much that sense. Jose Lothario, best known as the man that trained Shawn Michaels. Obviously, much more lucha influence there. There was a singles match between Lone Eagle and Little Tokyo, two smaller person wrestlers, shall we say. And then we got to the serious meaty part of the show, which again wasn't on this tape. Kevin Von Erich successfully defended the NWA American Heavyweight Championship against King Kong Bundy. And then the NWA Texas Heavyweight Championship, which was held by David Von Erich, was successfully defended against Bill Irwin. Now, on the show itself, the next match up on the video show of the show itself, the next matchup, which was the opening match of this show, was the World Six-Man Tag Team Championships. David Von Erich and the Fabulous Thunderbirds going against Ben Sharp, Mike Sharp, and Tom Steele. Now, how, may you ask, given the history of the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, did this all happen? Well, this was where it started. David Von Erichs had brought in the Fabulous Freebirds to wrestle in Texas, was the story. He'd met them in Georgia, become friends with them, and treated them as family. So when this match was announced, Buddy Roberts was the third man in this six-man tag team championship. Clearly a title entirely designed around the Freebirds because they were a three-man team, but they were the ideal foils to go against the three Von Erich brothers. So the story behind this match was that Michael Hayes originally gets on the microphone and says, well, Buddy can't join us tonight, so we're going to have to go 2 against 3 here. And there's a long kind of like conversation about like, we can't give up championship shots like that. We have to take it seriously. And then David Von Erich comes down to ringside and says, I will replace Buddy Roberts on this show because a brother tag team should win these titles. And if it was my brothers, you would come and stand by me. And that's the story of the match. Ben Sharp, Mike Sharp, Tom Steele, all kind of great journeyman wrestlers. Mike Sharp, especially Iron Mark Sharp, was kind of a Denzian of Madison Square Garden in the 80s. Had a long feud with Special Delivery Jones, the opening match for every Garden show for a long time. And it was kind of what you expect them to do. It was just very good guy, bad guy, straight up and down pro wrestling. Ben Sharp, Mike Sharp, and Tom Steele, not massive names in the territory, wouldn't be big names in the future, but were kind of good mid-card heels, which is what you wanted in this situation, because they weren't there to outshine the T-Birds, the Freebirds, and David Von Erich, who worked from underneath through the entire match, despite being the better technical wrestlers, the bigger wrestlers, having all the advantages. They worked from underneath, but that was kind of showing off the fact that it was disjointed. It wasn't like the way things should be. David Von Erich gets the winning pinfall with a high knee to the face. I think it was on Tom Steele, and their celebration afterwards. Terry and Michael do an excellent job of selling the fact that they didn't quite ignore David, who won them the championship, but they were very, very happy with David, and but it was kind of like them celebrating and David celebrating, and it wasn't really hugs and kisses all around. And in the post-match interview, David Von Erich says he's going to give up his third of the championship so that Buddy Roberts can take it over, because a brother tag team should be a brother tag team. And that's where things are left, and everyone's happy and everyone goes home. Now, the next match on the videotaping is not the next match on the show itself. The next match on the show itself was a battle royal for $10,000. Ken Mantell defeated Al Madrill, Ben Sharp, Bill Irwin, Brian Adias, Bugsy McGraw, Checkmate, David Von Erich, Frank Dusek, Jose Lothario, King Kong Bundy, Mike Sharp, Magic Dragon, The Spoiler, and Tom Steele. This lasted 11 minutes and 1 second. It's one of the fastest moving battle royals you'll ever see. It was just a blast. It was fun. Kind of did what you thought it would do. David Von Erich was eliminated early. So it was David Von Erich's third match of the evening by the time he got to that six-man tag team championship match. Triple duty for on Christmas Day. You have to work 3 matches. Yeah. Oh man, that was not easy going. For him anyway. The match itself was pretty fun, kind of moved along quite quickly, did what you expected it to do. It was intriguing because when they got down to the final 3, then they put the $10,000 on a poll up to make it a bit more like, so you didn't have like 20 guys all going for the pole, which obviously kills any action you can have in the ring, and that was a very sensible decision. So David Manning, the senior referee of World Class, comes out. They stick a pole to attach it to the ring post and stick $10,000 on top. It was just literally a bundle of $10,000. How much of it was actual notes and how much of it was paper cut to the size of dollar bills, I'm not sure, but that was what was there. And it was just a really nice, wholesome win for Ken Mantell, who was like, well, we're living in a tightening economy and $10,000 will go a long way. And it's just like, oh, it's so nice. It's just like, in this economy, $10,000 means a lot to me. And it was like, oh, working class wrestler kind of deal. And that was fun. I like it. Also reminded me of how low slung the world class ring ropes are. Like, it's just be very difficult for any aerial wrestlers because you don't see, like, there's one move later where Kerry comes off the ropes, off the middle rope, and uses the cage to hold his balance, or he climbs to the top right at the end, and he just springboards in. There's no real direction to where he's doing. It's amazing no one broke the neck in those rings, and why most of the wrestling tended to be straight up brawling and technical wrestling. But anyway, that was a nice little aside. It's one of the most fun battle royals I've ever seen, to be honest with you. Then we get to the main event, and the main event is the historic, no disqualification, steel cage match, NWA Heavyweight Championship match, special referee Michael Hayes, between Kerry Von Erich, the #1 contender, and Nature Boy Ric Flair, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Now, they had gone at it before, best of 3-4 match, which Kerry had lost to a concussion, a technical knockout. Flair was covered in blood, had nearly been pinned 3 or 4 times. They'd fallen out with that was this match. So the first match, the referee threw the match out when Kerry had clearly won the match, but the first referee threw the match out for Kerry attacking the referee. And then this match ends up going the way of Kerry again. This one's 1 fall to a finish, not best of 3 falls this time. Michael Hayes is the special referee, and Michael gets himself involved in the match more than a referee should. David Manny keeps coaching him not to make so many rash refereeing decisions and not to be so physical with the guys. And eventually that kind of all breaks down to the fact that Michael just loses his patience with Ric Flair, who just starts pushing him out of the way. So he punches Rick in the mouth and tells Kerry to pin him. Kerry won't pin him. There is a conversation, and Michael walks out of the ring, at which point Kerry goes to console him and apologize as Rick pushes his knee into the back of Kerry's neck. That slams Michael through the cage door into Terry Gordy, who is so angry he swings the cage door into Kerry's face, and that starts a slow descent for Kerry into a concussion, which is the stoppage of the match. This match is not a great technical wrestling match, but if you want drama, whoa boy, this is absolutely sports entertainment in its finest. It's not about great wrestling necessarily. Kerry's an exceptionally athletic guy, and Ric Flair, obviously, this was not your standard Ric Flair match by any stretch of the imagination. There was a lot of thought went into it. It was well played out. The fans were really into it. There's a lot of moving parts in a match like this, and it's incredibly difficult to do, but it was done perfectly. And if you look at the kind of the surprise heel turn, Hayes kind of corners the market on that over the next 20 years. And he has kind of big runs and makes big business with heel turns that give everyone an opportunity to make money. Well, I'm not particularly fan of his and his attitudes towards race and various other things, and his booking in WWE. Certainly, he knew how to make money in the Southern promotions, and with this situation, that was really intriguing to me. His last run, serious wrestling run in WCW, was based around this angle. He did exactly the same thing to Johnny B. Bad, and it was just interesting, how he built his angles around that. Terry Gordy as the kind of the big heater. He's an exceptional talker himself. Buddy Roberts was the pure wrestler, right? That was kind of the idea. You had the big heater in Terry Gordy, you had the pure wrestler in Buddy Roberts, and you had the talker in Michael Hayes. And Buddy and Terry could cash the checks that Michael's mouth wrote, was the basic idea. And that's what went on with this match, which set the territory on fire for the next 5 years. You didn't need anything else. You just needed the Freebirds and the Von Erichs, and they were the 2 biggest things in town. Intriguingly, the Freebirds were not heels, really. They were heels when they faced the Von Erichs. But when the Von Erichs were out of town, if they were touring Japan, it was the Freebirds who drew the crowds, just as much as the Von Erichs did. And that's really intriguing to me as to how they managed to stay on side with the fans, even though they were feuding with the biggest baby faces, arguably in any territory ever. Yeah, and it's on YouTube. You can go find it. It's about an hour and a half. It's a fun little watch. Great way to spend your Christmas Sunday. Go watch some wrestling. And that's that, really. That gets us through the weekend. I'll be back on Monday with another Today at Wrestling Christmas. Hope you're enjoying these. This is our second one. You can find me at Sheriff Lone Star on Twitter, on Blue Sky, and on Mastodon. You can find the show, Trooping Show, on Twitter and on Blue Sky. If you are listening on YouTube, can you please give us a like and subscribe? That would be lovely. A review helps the algorithm no end. All right, take care. Leave a comment, that kind of thing. And we'll be back soon. Bye.